Hi, I'm Three Gnomes, a solo indie game developer, and I'm currently working on my first big project, Toby's Topsy Tale. It's a 3D platformer in the style of Super Mario 64 or some of the other classics, but it's also a psychological horror game. Now in the game, you play as a little gingerbread man named Toby who explores a big hub world house where he finds all these little hidden magical worlds for him to explore. All the while, he's trying to find out what happened to his creator. In my last devlog, I added a new enemy named Barry and these breakable boxes for you to get coins from. I also started working on the freezer level. Now, a big problem that I noticed when I started trying to record the freezer level was that there was a lot of lag. It was hard to look at, to say the least. And it didn't take me long to realize that's because I never set up occlusion culling. So essentially, without this, everything in the entire scene was trying to load at once, even though it wasn't on the camera. And especially given the fact that this level has a lot of fog, I could set the clipping distance really close, because you won't be able to see past a certain point anyways. And when I was setting up the occlusion culling, I used a new camera to kind of just see how it would work, and then when I started playing to test it out, this is what was still set. So here's me running around with a weird, stupid camera for a few seconds. Anyways, so I set that up, and now the game was running pretty smooth. And since I now made it so that the freezer was running smoothly, I decided to go back and set up the fridge world the same way. Since I was here, I figured I might as well go ahead and grab the fire that was on top of the candles on this cake mountain, and save them as a prefab so that I could just pop them into the freezer. Cool, but this fire needed to be more than just a basic particle system because you were close enough to interact with it. So I started by adding a light around it so it gives off red ambient light. That felt nice. I added this light to the prefab, and anything I do from the fire from this point on would all be added to the prefab, so that it affects all the campfires going forward. Speaking of which, there were other campfires that needed to be lit. It's lit. I gotta stop making that joke every time I do a fire thing. Anyways, yeah, more campfires. But fire isn't silent. Fire makes a sound, like a crackling sound, yeah, that sound. So I added that to the prefab for the campfires, and now it felt a lot more like you were near fire. However, since you're playing a mortal being, fire should hurt them. And with a quick few fixes, now it could. So yay, fire done. I'm just like the indie game equivalent of a caveman. Ooh, ooga booga, fire. I'm sorry. Anyways, next up. So in the freezer level, you see these popsicle looking things around. I call these poppers, and a couple people have mentioned a way to make this a little more ominous, which I love. Specifically, Sticky the Stick from my Discord. You flex on your friends, my friend. Quick reminder to join my Discord, link in the description. And from my YouTube comments, Stoic FX. And both of these suggestions basically boil down to having the poppers follow you as you move through the level, kind of watching you with their big creepy eye. So I tried that out with just a basic smooth look at action, but that was too comfortable for me. So I had a better idea. Creepy. You never see them move, but they're always looking at you. Fun. What's next? Music and ambient sound effects. And to be clear, I've made everything else in this game minus the skyboxes and this music. The music for this game is made by a man named Gabriel Calderon, who's incredibly talented and generously offered to make the music for this game. Comment down below to let him know how much of a G he is. A G? What is this, 2003? Oh, I'm sorry. My jokes are so bad. Anyways, he rocks, and here's the music. It's killer. It's perfect. I added some wind sound effects, an ambient hum of a freezer, and I also made it so that when you go into a cave, the wind sound effects die down and there's a dripping sound. All in all, I loved the feeling this gave the game. Thank you again, Gabriel. You seriously rock. Next up, I added the Barry enemy to this game and also gave him a frostbite variant. Just like Carter, if you watched the last devlog, he's an undead, frostbitten version of what he is in the fridge world. Creepy. Now that I had a new enemy to kill, I wanted to add a nice ice-breaking sound effect for when you hit them, to give you the feeling that you're breaking ice. Good. Rad. Feels nice. Next up, in my Discord, link in the description, Hector suggested that I put in a snow particle effect. And while I didn't want it to feel like it was really snowing, I did like the idea of having just little particles hanging in the air around you, which kind of plays into the whimsical frozen feeling. So I set that up, real subtle, but if you look, you can now see the particle effect. And game design is so much about atmosphere. Don't forget to look at the little details of what you can do to make your game just subtly feel and look better. I'm always looking for things like that, so if you have any ideas, feel free to comment down below or join the Discord and give me ideas there. Obviously, I listen to them. And thank you, Hector, for your suggestion. Next up, I have this whole little refugee camp for these snack foods hidden up here in the freezer that currently has nothing but tents and campfires. So I've got to make the cute little creatures that you've been sent up here to deal with. So first up was Doug, inspired by a donut, obviously. And given the fact that he's a bunch of cylinders with legs and an eye in the middle, it wasn't too complex to model. Literally pretty much the first tutorial for Blender that anyone does. However, the eye was something special because I hand drew that within Blender, which if you've ever drawn in Blender, you know it's not always the easiest thing to do. And with that done, I just slapped it into Unity, and there was Doug. I mean, he couldn't do anything, but he was there. So next up was giving him life. And then giving him death. After all, death is an important part of life. I made some different versions of him, which each needed their own UI image. Worth it, and then I moved on to Kay, who was inspired by cake.
Pretty obvious.
I popped her in Unity, gave her some death animations, and made different variant versions of her as well. So now you have a full village full of NPCs for you to interact with or murder. So what's last?
Consequences.
And what's the point of being able to kill a village of people if it doesn't mean anything? If you come back and they're still here, have you really killed anything? So I said it's that if you kill these NPCs and you come back, not only are they gone, but their campfires are gone too. You have decimated the few survivors that were left alive. I'm sure you'll get a cookie for it. Anyways, that's it for this devlog. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so excited to show you what else I've been working on, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next devlog. And I don't have a sign-off for this one, so hold on, I'm gonna Google cool sign-offs for YouTube videos. Oh, auto-corrected to email sign-offs. Whatever, that works. I'm 3Gnomes, and thank you for reading this email. Let me know in the comments what I should do for a sign-off in the future. Anyways, toodles.